Here is a small dungeon intended to fit on a single sheet of paper and be completed in a single evening session. It was the most recent session for my current 5e group's campaign. It is the tomb of an ancient fallen paladin leader who was buried along with his effects, some of which are of crucial use to the party right about now. I'm going to lay it all down with miniature terrain in real time and detail its inner workings. Because if you want to take its structure and replace the names and the trinkets to fit into your campaign, you surely could. Now, because this is the 6th session in my group's current campaign, I'm going to start out here by giving you some context to catch you up. But if you don't care about that and just want to go straight into the dungeon, skip the backstory and just jump ahead to this timestamp right here. Centuries ago, the necromancer Electrum called the Black Rain. Call the Black Rain is a beyond 9th level spell which causes a thin black liquid to fall from the sky like rain in a 50-mile radius, permeating down 15 feet into the earth. Any corpse the liquid touches immediately raises in zombified form, regardless of its age. Thus, an undead army can be created in one single storm of the black oil, and this will be an eclectic army, as it will include everything from fallen soldiers to peasants to bears and chipmunks. Fortunately, the spell has a casting time of 6 months. It also has a material component, an ancient medallion that came to be known as Electrum's Bangle. The paladins of the Sapphire Monastery came to know of Electrum's scheme and hunted him across the land for months, leading up to his completion of the casting. At some point, the general captain of the order, Arthan, partnered with the regional arcane university called Glamourwill and commissioned the creation of a tool that could tune into and find the bangle. Much as a lodestone can be used to find north-south, this tool came to be known as Arthan's Compass. It is entirely due to Arthan's Compass that not long after the casting was complete, Arthan and his paladins found Electrum in his base of operations deep in the mountains. A titanic battle ensued, with the ranks of paladins holding off the copious viscera of undead creatures as Arthan himself dueled Electrum. He prevailed, but just as he dealt the killing blow, Electrum uttered a foul incantation and afflicted Arthan with an ancient type of withering curse. In the immediate aftermath, the people of the region took several actions to prevent the catastrophe from ever occurring again. Arthan was buried in a secret location with all of his effects, including the compass. The Druids of Aspenwood carried out this task, and to this day, centuries later, their ranks are the only individuals in the world who know of the tomb's location, and this is by design. Electrum's Bangle was offered up under the pretense of tribute to the great white worm Aldaxa, with the assumption that there was no possible greater protection than that of a greedy ancient dragon. Necromancy was outlawed throughout the land, and centuries passed. Just several years ago, an ambitious young student at Glamourwill named Zacer displayed both an interest and aptitude in necromancy, and was expelled after several experimental incidents. During his exile, through means unknown, he managed to achieve lichdom, and also to steal the bangle from Aldaxa's hoard. In retaliation, Aldaxa stole his phylactery, and now the two hold each other hostage, with the entire region suffering as a result. Zacer has just begun to cast Call the Black Rain again, and that is where the campaign begins and the party enters the story. Room 1. Entrance. Somewhere in the hundreds of miles of twisting and branching tunnels deep beneath the mountains, there's a 10-foot section of the natural rock wall that is illusory. Only those given its location by the Druids of Aspenwood have any hope of finding it. Stumbling upon it by chance has proven over the centuries to be quite impossible. Room 2. Last Meal. It's a sobering sight before you. A long table, adorned with a half-finished feast, the remainder still preserved. This is where Arthan had his final meal amidst his friends. A podium nearby still has a book on it, full of restoration missives to slow Electrum's curse just long enough to enjoy this last festivity and prepare his body for stasis. Room 3. Storeroom. This is a storeroom with lots of junk, crates, storage sacks, etc. There are tools and offcuts of raw materials that were clearly used back during the construction of this place. Over the centuries, enough magic has leached and coalesced into the tomb so as to form an anomalous blob, treated as a black pudding, with stats adjusted as needed to match the party's level. Room 4. Hallway. This short 20-foot hallway has 2 doors. The one at the far end, to the north, has the symbol of Torm burned into the wood. The one on the east wall is plain. Halfway down the wall is a decorative archway protruding from the walls and ceiling. Anyone walking through the archway takes a large amount of lightning damage, near deadly. This is a magical trap that cannot be disarmed. Curious and inquisitive characters will notice that carved into the crest of the arch is the image of a stalwart warrior along with a symbol of Torm. The warrior has their back turned to the symbol. Here lies the solution. Walking through the archway backwards with one's back to Torm's symbol in supplication will not trigger the lightning trap. Room 5. The Compass. Here, upon an elaborate circular rug stitched with runes, is a small bronze disc with a triangle of shiny obsidian set into its center. This is obviously Arthan's compass, but in fact, it's not. It's a decoy. The obsidian triangle randomly rotates on its own every few minutes in a random direction, but this is simply due to a bulk of sand inside the thing shifting around, causing the bearing to slowly change position. A DC 20 Arcana check would reveal this, as would a simple detect magic spell. Room 6. Crypt. The north wall of this room is slanted slightly, and Arthan's glorious plate mail is mounted to it. Inside that armor is a mummified body. Presumably, Arthan's condition had deteriorated beyond the point of dignity, and so he was wrapped. There's also a workbench nearby with a plethora of herbs and oils, probably used in the ritual that put him to this eternal slumber. In fact, this is mostly a ruse. It is indeed Arthan's armor, but the cadaver inside is not his. Anything more than the slightest caress of the armor will disturb the innards, causing a cloud of yellow mold to billow out and fill the entire 30 by 30 foot room. The workbench may or may not contain some usable potions or scrolls, depending how the party is doing. Room 7. Shrine. Here on a small stone dais is mounted Arthan's broadsword. It is a +3 weapon, inflicting an additional 2d8 radiant damage to any evil creatures. It can only be wielded by a strict follower of Torm. Anyone else finds the thing perpetually unbalanced and clunky, totally unusable. Also in the room is a shrine of the Sapphire Monastery, who worship Torm. Recitation of any of the prayers in the book confers Torm's blessing to fall upon the reader. It's important to track who has received a blessing of Torm. Room 8. True Crypt. This is the final resting place of Arthan. At the north end is an enormous basalt monolith with a 2-foot thick slab that retracts into the floor. It cannot be forced open physically or magically. Etched into it is another symbol of Torm, as well as 4 empty square nacelles. 4 stalwart statues keep silent vigil over the tomb, 2 along each wall. Touching any of them, or the sarcophagus, causes all 4 to spring to life, treated as shield guardians with stats modified as needed. Ensconced in each one's chest cavity is a large, brilliant blue sapphire. If they are burst open and the sapphire is retrieved, mounting all 4 of them in the nacelles on the lid causes it to retract into the floor and reveal the true body of Arthan, clothed gently in white and blue regalia, mostly intact, blemished by some black lesions and bruises, the manifestations of Electrum's curse, at least as far as they could get before Arthan was put into stasis. His arms are folded across his chest, clutching the true compass in plain sight. If it is touched by anyone who has not received a blessing of Torm from Room 7, they receive massive lightning damage, near deadly. Those who have Torm's blessing can remove it from the corpse and use it without any difficulty or consequence. Presumably, the next segment of the campaign will be the characters using Arthan's compass to go and find Electrum's bangle, and in that same way, Zacer himself. But they may also decide to go and treat with Aldaxa. If she were given the compass, perhaps she could fight her own battle. They may also make their way to Glamourwill to see what tools that university might have to offer. Anyway, thanks for watching, and until next time, I'm Wylock. Make things and play games.